Hello everyone, it's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and today I'm going to be talking about the latest episode of Star Wars Resistance. It's episode 7. And I have to say, this is the first time I have watched this show and enjoyed it. There was a lot of problems with it, but I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I think one of the main reasons I enjoyed this episode was there was an actual story that was very intriguing. Plot, there actually was one. There was actual character development and growth between multiple characters, and there was not only an action sequence that made sense, there was logic, and it all worked together. Now, one of the things, what they're going for is they're trying to show their main character, Kaz, and that he's this spy on this barge in the middle of this ocean on this planet, and they've never once explained why this barge is important to the Resistance or to the First Order, or what its role is in this story, or why it's important in Star Wars. All they said is that there's a spy here and Kaz needs to find him. Now, one of the reasons why this episode was good, because Kaz wasn't the main character in this episode. This wasn't about Kaz. This was about Tam. Tam is the female mechanic that works with Kaz, and she doesn't know that he's a spy. So in this episode, what happens, and I usually explain these episodes like I'm talking to my friends. So basically, this episode starts off, and it's real serious right off the bat. There is something going on. They are all working really hard. And the main guy, Yeager, that Poe stuck Kaz with, he's telling them, hey, we gotta get this computer. So they're working on this computer, and this computer is in charge of the weapons and the cannons for the barge. Somehow it's broken, and they need to fix it. And it's because of this computer chip. And it's very hard to find computer chips like these because they're only in older ships. But it's a computer chip that this computer needs to be able to work to run the cannons for the entire barge. And usually the barge is protected by the ace pilots because, you know, they're kind of the cavalry for this barge. But they're going away because they need to go help the Resistance with something. So this barge is going to be unarmed, and if they get attacked by pirates and the weapons aren't online, they're basically going to get taken over. So it's very critical that they fix this computer. So Tam and Kaz have to go, and they have to go find a chip. And in the previous episode, Kaz rescued this girl from, or she's an alien, but her name's Synara. They rescued her when he was off playing pilots in outer space with Poe, and so she is actually one of the pirates, and so she's pretending to, you know, not to know what happened to her, but she's working on the barge in the scavenging area, you know, recovering chips and salvaging all the parts that they can. So they go pay her a visit, and Kaz is, you know, he's trying to be the main character, he's trying to be the one that's talking. Kid's a dumbass, can't even get 2 sentences out. And it was ironic that the scavengers that they go to ask for the computer chip first, that then refer them to go check with the scavengers, they straight up call him an idiot. I'm like, this is a Disney show, then they're using words like idiot? Like, aren't they super obsessed with not saying that in front of children? But whatever. Again, they want to say this is a children's movie or TV show, but they are okay with saying idiot. But I was thoroughly surprised by that. So anyway, they go up and they go to find Synara, and so Kaz is trying to explain to the chip. He can't even pronounce what it's called, and so Tam just pushes him aside, and she's like, girl, we just need this computer chip. I know you probably don't have one, but we really need it for this project we're working on. And Synara is just like, oh, well, what kind of project? Like, that's a really rare, like, computer chip. And you're very specific on what you need. And she's like, oh, like, I know you probably don't have one, but we really, really need it. That'd be really cool if you could check for us. And Synara's like, all right, I'll go check. Comes back a second later. Oh, yeah, guess what? We had one left. How freaking convenient, right? And you would think that would be a, you know, big plot hole, but she thanks her, and she's like, wow, you're really resourceful, and, like, Tam's noticing, because Tam is very intelligent, she's a very good mechanic, and she notices how fast Synara was able to identify what that chip was, and she comments on it as she's, you know, thanks her, and then they leave, and Sonara's trying to ask, like, what they needed it for, because it's kind of weird that, you know, you need this one really rare computer chip that only does certain things for, you know, the computers that it's in. And so they're trying to not talk about it, so they take off. And while they're leaving, Tam makes a comment about how it's strange how fast Sonara was able to find it. And then Kaz is like, oh yeah, she's great. And then she's kind of like, well, yeah, I know why you're interested in her, kind of thing. And I think they're trying to allude that Kaz has a little bit of a crush on her. And BB-8 even makes the comment that he doesn't trust her. And so Tam's like, huh, that's weird, BB-8 doesn't trust her. And so they go down and they're trying to fix it. And Sonara is trying to figure out why they need it. And so obviously it is a computer chip that only does a certain thing, so you can basically assume what that certain thing is. And so she needs to find out more information, so Sonara goes down there to go talk to them, and they're trying to install the computer chip into this computer. And so Sonara comes in and she has all these spare parts, and she's like, oh, I just wanted to bring you guys these spare parts because we had a bunch of extras. And it's her way of, you know, getting into sneak to see what they're doing. So, you know, all of them are just like, oh my gosh, you can't look at this computer, because if she looks at this computer, she's going to know what it is. And so Tam is just like, oh, you know, I'm about to go on my lunch break. You know, why don't we go and I'll, like, get you some food. So I thank you for bringing all these spare parts. So Tam and Sonara go off. And when they go off, they start having a conversation about their life. And you get to learn a little bit more about Tam. And Tam explains to Sonara that, because Sonara's like, well, you're really intelligent. Or, yeah, Sonara says that to Tam. She's like, you're really intelligent. Like, what's your story, kind of thing? And Tam explains, she's like, well, you know, my dad was a pilot, and I always wanted to be a pilot. And then when I came here to, you know, race with the ace pilots, my ship needed repairs, and I needed money to do it. And then I ended up losing the race and losing the ship. So I have to work, and, you know, that's basically it. I have to work to pay off, you know, my debt that I needed, that I got from, you know, trying to fix my ship and then losing. And then they really connect on the fact that they are both talking about how they want more with their life. And in that moment, it really felt like Star Wars, because that's what the idea of Star Wars was. It was Luke Skywalker looking at the binary sunset, wanting more with his life. He didn't want to be on a moisture farm. He wanted to go out and, you know, learn more about who Anakin Skywalker was, his father, and he wanted to be more. He wanted to do more. He felt like he was trapped on Tatooine. And so that moment, it was really like, wow, like the person that wrote this actually understands, and the director of this episode, they really understood, because in that moment, that's what the message of Star Wars is. It's about wanting to do more with your life. And in this moment, it showed a girl who was doing everything the right way, and then it showed a little in depth to Sonara, who was, you know, even though we don't know too much about her, we know that she's working with the pirates, but there's, you know, it all depends on your point of view on if you consider that bad or not. And right now, it's very obvious that the pirates, they're working for the First Order to try to, you know, trick the captain who's in charge of this barge into signing over with the First Order, because he gets getting attacked by pirates, and the First Order is supposed to be, you know, like Superman and come in and save them. So Sonara, even though she's working with the pirates and she's undercover, it doesn't necessarily make her a bad person. It's just she's on a different team than they are. And in that moment, she even says to Tam, she's like, well, you know, we're in this big galaxy, but she's like, you're like me, you want something more. And that's a really big part of the Star Wars, you know, universe, and what drove people to loving Star Wars so much and to relating with Luke Skywalker is because, yeah, we all have that longing to do something more with our life, and at one point or another we are trapped in a certain situation. And it was really weird to experience that in this TV show, because if you've seen any of my other videos on this show, it's not like that. Not a single episode has had any emotional depth to it except for this one in this moment. And it changes the way that I'm going to be looking at this show now, because that happened. And this is one of the things that really bothers me, is the fact that this show is supposed to be about this kid that's a spy on this barge, which has, it doesn't even explain what the point of this barge is, but in this moment that they probably don't even really know is this significant, is like, I feel like maybe it must have been Dave Filoni and he snuck this in there because he didn't think that anyone would look into it. And that's what I get the feeling is going on with a lot of the people that work at Lucasfilm. It's like, just when all those stories came out about the Glassdoor reviews, and it's like, yeah, you can say something after you quit, and I know exactly what it's like to be at a job where it's like, your manager is like crazy, and you don't agree with the things that your manager says, but at the end of the day, you need to eat, you need to get a paycheck so that way you can live. And I feel like that's what's going on with Disney right now, is that it's the people that work for Disney and Lucasfilm, that's their job, and they need to be able to feed themselves and to pay their bills. And so it's your job, and if you say anything, you're going to get fired, because that's what it's like, a scare, that's going on there right now. And I feel like the only reason this was able to get through was because it was something with 2 female characters, and they're like, oh, we're all about, strong female characters, let's put them on the screen and give them all the screen time, and not like, oh, okay, we're filling our quota for the day, we got an alien and we got this human female, and we're gonna have them talk, and they're gonna be the main part of the episode, so we're checking our little boxes. And I feel like, just based on the Clone Wars, because to try to keep my sanity, I started rewatching the Clone Wars, and I've been meaning to do this for years, but I was like, I need something in my life that is good, that reminds me of what Star Wars is. And I remember how much I didn't really like Ahsoka in the beginning, and how she was an annoying character, and I was like, well, let me go back, and maybe it's just my own prejudice about what Disney is doing with Star Wars. And I rewatched the first 6 episodes of the Clone Wars, and I'm like, no, this is fantastic. Ahsoka's so much better. I think it was just, when they made the Clone Wars movie, that was a little bit painful because we didn't know much about Ahsoka. She came off as kind of annoying. But no, just with her and Anakin and their dynamic, it was amazing. And everything that she said had meaning behind it. Everything all the characters said, you only get 25 minutes to be on TV. Everything you say and do has to be important. And so watching Resistance, it's like nothing, there's no logic, there's no important moments happening, but in this is the one time that it's happened, and it's striking how powerful that moment was, because it felt like Star Wars, and it seems like this is the one speck that Dave Filoni was able to get past them and under their noses, because it's a moment that actually feels like Star Wars. And even the rest of the episode is good too. They have the pirates attack just like we expected. It's a really intense fight scene. I paid attention the entire time. My mind did not wander the entire time. Kaz does stupid stuff, and that's what we expect because he's a stupid character. They even call him an idiot in the show, and there's a malfunction with the computer and they can't put it in right, so Kaz has to get something to put it in right. He's fighting. They're all fighting with different characters. So Tam goes up because she sees the area where Synara was working got bombed, so she goes up to save Synara, and Synara is completely moved because Tam came to rescue her. And I think this might, again, I said there's character development. You get to see Synara see that she's a character that no one's ever cared about her, which is why she's working with pirates, because she's got to take care of herself. She's going to do whatever it takes to survive. She is a survivor. That's why she survived the pirate attack being one of the pirates when she attacked the ship that they found in outer space that had the giant monkey creature that killed the rest of the pirates, but she survived. So we know that Synara she's a very well-equipped person, and we find out in this episode how intelligent she is and how strong she is, because she's very physically strong. And so when Tam goes to go find her to help her, because she knows that area is getting raided by pirates and it's under attack, Synara is completely thrown off by this, and Tam even says, she's like, that's what friends do. Like, I'm your friend. I came to help you. And one of the pirates sees her and says Synara, and she punches him in the face real fast so that way he gets knocked out, so Tam doesn't find out. But they might bring it up because he does say her name, so maybe BB-8 got it because BB-8 was with Tam. BB-8 doesn't trust her, and BB-8 doesn't, they don't say what he says, but he does make a couple beeping noise after Tam and Synara talk for a little bit, and Synara's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you came and saved me, and Tam's like, yeah, that's what friends are for. And then they go on their way to go figure out what else is going on and go help everyone else. And Kaz and Yeager, fighting pirates, the computer, there's a problem, but then they get it in, it works, the cannons get fixed, and then the pirates, as they're fighting and raiding everyone, they see that the cannons are fixed, so they all get in their ships and leave. And the episode ends with them going back to Yeager's, I wouldn't really know how to, like, his shop, but it's like his part of the ship where he lives and has his mechanic shop. And he basically tells Kaz that he's like, well, that was very convenient that all the pirates showed up when we, you know, the second that our aces leave, the pirates show up, so there's obviously an informant. And then Kaz is like, what, another spy aside from me? He's like, Kaz, you were never the first spy here. And then it goes and shows the captain, and how the captain, he's looking at the barge and how it's all on fire because it was just raided. And he calls the First Order, and it's the Gold Stormtrooper, and he's just like, hey, I want to look at the proposal you guys sent me. And the Gold Stormtrooper is like, I'll deliver it myself personally. And we already know that the pirates are working for the First Order, so this is all part of a plan to get this barge to align themselves with the First Order. And now that Synara is there, they're off, and he even comments the captain does to Yeager earlier on in the episode that, you know, the pirates, they're more well equipped, they know how to attack better, and they're getting better information, which is kind of strange since there's supposed to be a spy there. You would think that they already have that information, and we know that Synara is the one that's providing all this better intel for them. So either the spy isn't very good, or the spy is there for something else, which I'm assuming is for the First Order and is not reporting to the pirates. So the pirates are getting better because of Synara. So we still don't know who the actual spy is, but I think that just showing the character development between Tam and Synara I think that's going to be a big plot point later on as the season comes to an end. And I do really like these characters now. I think the character design, like, you know, for Synara is very beautiful. I like the idea that her skin is like pinkish, but she's got, you know, these teal qualities, and she's even though she's a very fit woman, she's pretty tall if you look at the scale of all the other characters, and like just the difference between her and Tam is very significant. So I really like the character design in her. I'm interested to find out more about her species, and I'm interested to find out more about her. And I have not had the pleasure of saying that about any character that Disney has created. And I think that and I don't want to give credit to someone that doesn't deserve it, but as far as I am aware right now, based on the people that were involved in this, I have a strong feeling that this was a very character that Dave Filoni probably spent time on. Just based on what I know from the Clone Wars and the other work that he has done, this has his touch to it. At least it feels that way. I need to look more into it because I don't want to be giving out credit to the wrong person. But I think if you're going to start out watching Star Wars Resistance, if you do, I don't think any of the other episodes are really important. Maybe the one before this, so you find out where Synara is. But if they would have just started off with this episode and just continue on this way, and again, Kaz, who is supposed to be the main character of the show, wasn't the main character of the episode, and it was great. He seemed like the comedic relief character. He doesn't grow. Nothing changes with him. Nothing really changes with Yeager. The thing that really shows is between Tam and Synara, and then BB-8 saying like, oh, you probably shouldn't trust her. If they would have just started out with this, it would have been, you know, a great opener to their show. And especially if you don't know any of the information from the previous episodes, it's very intriguing. And you would find out, you know, straight off the bat, oh, Synara is the spy. She's working with the pirates. But then you would find out later, you know, there's another spy that's working for the First Order. So, all in all, I think as far as being true to Star Wars and the message, this episode had it. And even though there is a lot of plot holes in just the way that the mechanics of the computer worked and other things, but as far as that goes, I actually enjoyed this episode, and I've not had the pleasure of saying that about any of the Resistance episodes. So if you guys want to know more, I'm willing to talk about it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think and if you're intrigued to watch it. So yeah, just let me know. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you, because we are going to need it.